Welcome everybody to another episode of I'm Working on It, and this is a special episode, you could say, with him from Tuesdays with Stories, the Rogan appearances, his special Out to Lunch, Mark Normand.
Hey, good to be here. Woo!
Dude, I know I just said this 3,000 times to you, but I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a gay.
Yeah, Big Tuesday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
When I first started doing stand up, I discovered your podcast because List is a Boston guy. And I think he was like kind of just starting to open for Louis or something
Wow.
at the time. And everyone would talk about him. They're like, you got to check out the pod. It's Joe List and Mark Normand. And that was probably like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I would say maybe 7.5 or 8.
Yeah. Sadly, our numbers have not gone up since then. But yeah, it's true. Can you believe we're pushing 8 years on this puppy? It's bananas how little money we've made.
Did you start before that, much before that, or were you like in it a while?
Start comedy?
No,
Or
the podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm saying we started like 7 years ago or 8 years ago now, and it's flying by, and it's grown a lot. We've come a long way. We tried to do a few tours with it, and no one came out. I think people think the pod is bigger than it is.
Interesting.
Comics listen to it, and a couple other weirdos, but yeah, it's not huge. But hey, we have a fun time, and now with the pandemic, you can't really see your friends, so it's nice
Yeah.
to pod it up. It's kind of like a hang.
Exactly. It's without these podcasts, I don't know what we would be doing, really.
Yeah,
It like
yeah.
I feel like just being able to connect with comics and still talk a little bit helps get like a little bit of a like keeps you going type of thing.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
it's like a little bit of a buzz and then you can just like keep living life.
Right, yeah. And we all shit on Zoom, but thank God for Zoom. I
Yeah.
mean, praise Allah. This thing is keeping us going. It's keeping people not having to go into work, and
Yeah.
like we can do shows on here and pods and people with other cities. It's killer.
Yeah. And I want to talk to you about your special, Out to Lunch.
Yo,
It's
sure.
pushing 5 million views right now on
I
YouTube.
can't believe it. We're about to hit 4.6. My mom is actually interested in it. She sends me the numbers, which is new. It's very exciting.
That's awesome. And man, you gotta have like honestly the most laughs per minute of any comic. For
Oh,
real.
thanks. Yeah, I just I hate silence. I hate you always hear about this guy killed for an hour, and then you listen, you're like, they got some big laughs throughout an hour, but it wasn't a killing hour, just consecutively laughter. So I wanted to have a show that was actually just like a ton of punchlines, and also it's fear based. I feel like if I haven't gotten a laugh in 30 seconds, they hate me, so I have to just keep pumping them out.
Well, it's such an impressive like style too, because not a lot of people can do that, especially like what you're doing. I feel like there's no fat, basically.
Oh, thanks. Well, that's from doing these horrible rooms in the middle of the country where they hated me. When you're in Albany, New York, they don't care about anxiety
Right.
jokes. And when you're in Youngstown, Ohio, they don't care about your therapy chunk. So I had to make them punchy and quick, just so they wouldn't lose interest. And it was a lot of years of failure getting that thing cooking.
How long did you work on that specific hour?
Ooh, probably 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Just like on the
Yeah.
road and everywhere with it, taking it around the
Yeah.
country.
I pretty much did every weekend of the road from like 2016 to 2019.
Damn.
Just every weekend was out somewhere in some town, and it's how I pay the rent. So,
Right.
but it got weird when I'd go back to Denver and they're like, "We heard all this." So I
Yeah.
knew I had to put it down eventually and record it.
Is that do you have other material now? Cuz you had you did another special for Comedy Central, right? The was it produced by Amy Schumer? Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah.
Okay.
That was 2016.
Okay.
That was an hour that was I was more of an opener then. So you can see that the hour isn't as tight because I wasn't headlining.
Got it. And then when you put that out, did you have this new material that is out to lunch, or did you have to start from scratch?
I had some of it. Every comics, when you have your hour, you got like 12 minutes here, 8 minutes there, some
Yeah.
new ideas you're kicking around. So I had those new ideas in my back pocket. But I mean, if you're doing a 45-minute set and you have 8 minutes,
Yeah.
you're kind of screwed. So you're like paddling on a you're like using a door as a raft in the ocean.
The material that you have, though, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're very much like into the math of comedy, like the
Yeah,
equation of
totally.
it, like A plus B equals C.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Because I mean, it's somebody farts and we laugh, and you kind of go, "Why is that?" That's the cool thing about funny or humor is it's like this. It's the same with fighting. Fighting is like this animalistic, primal, emotion-based, angry, but you can actually learn how to fight well, and it's so
Yeah.
cool to me. Like you can learn how to parry and slip and throw a hook or a cross or a jab and all that, and like wrestling and all the Asian, the Muay Thai and the Jiu-Jitsu and other Jews, all that stuff is unbelievable. And you think you just see a fight, you just see a bunch of people like pounding on each other, but there's actually a lot of math to it. And it's the same with comedy.
Yeah.
Sure, it's a silly thing. A fat guy falling down the stairs will never be as funny as some, or will always, I will never have a joke as funny as that. But
Right.
we can try. And I find that math so cool because it's, you're kind of dissecting this primal thing. I mean, cavemen were laughing.
Yeah.
That's something. And so we can, if we can harness it as much as we can, I find that fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. You said that perfectly too, because when you're watching someone fight, it looks like they're just throwing punches left and right when you
Yeah,
know nothing about it. But really,
right.
it's all calculated. So
All calculated, and it's
it's
unpredictable. Same with comedy. Like you never know, you'll get heckled. This
yeah.
joke might bomb. You might flub a word. So you have to keep adapting on the fly, and the audience is almost like your opponent, where you're trying to
Hmm.
just keep them going, and it's very similar.
Yeah.
Seinfeld equates it to surfing. That's his big analogy.
Like you have to get out to ride the wave type of thing.
Yeah, like the audience is the wave, and you got to just keep calibrating. Like, should I lean this way? Should I lean that way? Should I hold back? Should I twist and do this? And
Right.
that's his whole thing.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I don't know if you heard that, but yeah.
That's bonus.
See, comedy.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
everywhere.
And yeah, when you talk about that, I totally get what you're saying, because like if you don't know, like for fighting too, you can't just fight in your room and get good. You have to
Yes,
spar.
exactly.
And that's comedy. And that's part of the reason why this pandemic kind of blows for a million
Yeah.
reasons, but narrowing it down to comedy is you can do jokes in your bedroom 20 hours a day. Like you don't know until you're getting that interaction with the crowd and the rhythm of the bit.
So true. And it's the only art form where you need the crowd to produce
Yeah.
quality shit. I mean, obviously a crowd helps with a musician and all that, but I feel like a musician could knock it out in a garage and kind of go, "Hey, listen, is this good?" And everybody's like, "That's great."
Yeah.
But I feel like comedy, you almost need a crowd. You can run it by a friend. Most of my friends go, "That joke sucks," and then it'll kill. So I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not a good gauge. You need the crowd. So it sucks that you need the crowd. So if you can take as much control of it as you can with the math of it in your apartment or your lab or wherever the hell, then that's a win.
It's so true. And when you talk about music, there's like John Mayer played the guitar in his room 1,000 hours a day and got insane.
Right.
And
Yeah.
like something we could never do is Billie Eilish, how she's like blowing up. She's like the new, like the pop
Yeah.
star. And
Sure.
she recorded her album in her bedroom that was
Wow.
released. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Like you couldn't do 45 minutes talking about life and, whatever and
Yeah.
sell out arenas.
No, completely. I mean, like Bill Burr does a podcast on his own in a room alone, and it's sometimes funny and then sometimes interesting and sometimes poignant or whatever, but it'll never fill an arena with that.
Right.
And obviously he sells out theaters, and he's a killer. But yeah, you're right. It's different. We need that audience. That's why comedy is not taken seriously a lot too, because people go, this guy's funny, he's bombing. You're like, yeah, but I'm bombing. But in 3 weeks, this joke will be killer. Sorry, my cat's walking on the computer. All right.
No, but
did that come through?
Yeah. But it's so true, because you gotta. It's rhythm, when to pause, when to go, and you've done so much, man, for like arenas and theaters, everything. Does it kind of mess with that rhythm? Like, say you're doing clubs all the time every night, and then you go do a theater, you go do an arena. Does that kind of affect that? Like how you're saying the bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything's different. I do outdoors now. I'm in a field. I'm on a roof, and all that changes everything. But I think all those ways of computing the comedy, like how to go here, how to go there, you're just constantly doing a focus group in other locations. It all helps, even though it sucks and it's not as fun as the hot killer club crowd. It all helps. Doing an arena helps and it's good to just see it in different rooms and see how it plays. As much as it isn't fun, it helps to just try it in different settings. It's like fighting. You want to be able to be good at wrestling, sparring, boxing, Thai, jiu-jitsu, whatever the fuck, Muay Thai. So always good to mix it up. Do a black room, do a gay room, do a alt room, do a club.
Yeah, it's true. I remember when I first started comedy, some of the best advice I ever received is I asked a comic, like, what should I just focus on while doing this? And they were like, just do as many weird rooms as possible.
Yes, so true.
And of everything anyone's ever said to me, nothing has been more true than that, in my opinion.
Every fiber in your asshole is going, oh, I did well here. Just stay here. This is where they like you. Yeah. But that's the worst thing for you.
Yeah, and it's so true. And when you finally get, like there was a club when I was a few months in that kind of just started having me do the door and hosting. And I've had like a joke or two that worked. So I was always doing that. And it was like kind of falling into that comfort of doing well. And someone was like, you got to always, like when you're Dave Chappelle, you got to risk bombing.
Yeah.
And that was another little bit of advice.
Yeah, because look, time's going to keep passing. Everything ebbs and flows. The biggest stars today are going to be nobodies tomorrow, right. Blah, blah, blah. But everybody looks in the now too much with comedy. I know everybody's taught you got to be in the now, be in the present. But I think with comedy, when writing comedy, you got to be in the future, because that bit is bombing now and everybody thinks it sucks. You might think it sucks. But if you keep at it and you really believe in it, in the future, it could be a killer bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think you got to kind of live in the future with some of your bits, because no bit's going to kill out of the gate. You get like one of those a year.
Yeah.
So keep going with it, I say. No, like I have a lot of like racial bits or edgy bits or whatever that people are just like, whoa, I don't think so, buddy. And I kept finessing and tweaking over the years, and then they just started working. And now people are like, I love that bit. I'm like, man, where were you when I needed you?
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people like you, though, because over the last few years, everything has been so like tight and people complain about just bullshit, really.
Yeah.
And are offended about anything. And when I talk about how I feel like you're like into the math and equation of comedy, when you say a word, it's part of the joke, it's part of the equation. Like like saying fat, you're not necessarily talking about someone that's fat, but it's part of the bit.
Yes,
Do you
exactly.
get what I'm saying?
Of course. I'm living it. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And they go, you talk about school shooting. You said shotgun. I'm like, yeah, but shotgun is what you yell when you get into a car. And I can just use that word twice. It's a homophone. Homophone or homonym?
Yeah.
Homophobe?
Yeah.
Either way, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's a double meaning, so I can use it as a joke. I don't care. I'm not like for school shootings. Like,
right.
It's just it's the equation. It's the math. It's the mechanics.
Right. And I think more and more people are kind of understanding that, because I feel like it got
Yeah,
so out of control for a while
I think you're right.
that I think people, and then with the pandemic and everything, I think people are kind of like, it's a joke. Just
Yeah.
just see that, because it's like hearing the word, like when you say shotgun, someone will immediately just hear that and they start getting offended.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they're not even listening to the joke.
You know what it reminds me? Like, speaking of cats, I can dangle a pair of headphones, and a cat is a natural predator, so it'll just start batting at it, start attacking, and you're like, "This isn't going to kill you. This isn't. This is a piece of plastic that has nothing against you. It's not even a living thing." But this cat thinks it's a fucking enemy or a killer or whatever it is. So, and I feel like that's the same thing with like a lot of the PC. It's like they just heard the word gay and they just start batting, and you're like, "Yeah, but there's actual homophobia out there that you should be handling. This is just the headphones dangling." But you're so keyed up and wanting to fight that you're just like, I'll take it, you know. Whereas this cat will kill a mouse, which is what it's supposed to do, and that's what an activist should do, is go kill a bad guy or whatever it is, or a mouse. But you're just focusing on the dangling yarn.
That's such a good point. That's a spot on analogy. It's just hearing that thing, getting caught up in it, and then you're not even realizing that the whole bit could be against that thing. They just hear that word.
Exactly.
And then it's mayhem. But I feel like universally right now, because it got so insane, and it still is kind of whatever here and there, but I think universally people are just like, you're annoying if you're getting that. Like, people are sick of it.
Right. Yeah, I think so. That's how everything goes. Everything has to go all the way, and then we realize it's crazy and we come back.
Yeah, it's true. And
I hope.
Like, we're comedians. Like, we're trying to make you happy. You bought tickets, we're having a good night, we're eating food, drinking. Like, this is supposed to be literally fun.
Yeah, and that's the other weird thing I never got. They go, "You're making light of school shootings?" I'm like, yes, I'm making light of a horrible thing. Isn't that what we're trying to do here? That's when somebody dies, you go, they're in a better place. They're obviously not in a better place. They're in the ground, but you're making light of it to make people feel better. That's what I'm doing. I'm making light of a horrible thing.
Exactly.
You get angry about. You're making light.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm making light.
How dare you try to make us happy?
How dare you make light
during this crazy time? What do you when you're on stage? Basically, when we talk about that, do you enjoy normal life, or like do you just kind of feel alive? Like, how I'll say it is, like, when I'm on stage, that's it. Like, that's happy. I feel like I'm doing something worth living. I feel like that's where I'm supposed to be. And in life, I'm kind of just trying to find something that is exciting, like all the other time. Do you have that?
When I was younger, I definitely could relate more. Now that I've found comedy, I just feel better in general all the time. Like, everything could be a bit. I'm always thinking about a joke. What about this? Everything's an experience. But when I was younger, I was just miserable. I was like, I want to get drunk. I want to run away. I want to black out. I want to do something. But that gets. I don't know how old are you?
I'm 28.
Okay. It gets better. It really does. And you find a partner, or you get some money in your pocket, or you get some success, and you kind of chill out a little bit. But that rudderlessness feeling, and that kind of like, what am I doing? What's the point? I blinked and 5 years went by, and that part sucks. But I think finding, especially for guys, I hate to say this, but I think for guy, you got to have some kind of goal or something to look towards or work towards.
Yeah.
Even if it is getting rich or whatever. And I think that helps.
Absolutely. I agree with that, because like during this pandemic, I started meditating a bunch.
Oh, there you go.
And I've completely chilled out, calmed down, kind of feel like I can focus on life and things outside of comedy. So I might have said it incorrectly, the point I was trying to get across. Like, I've been in a relationship for 9 years already. Yeah. I'm only 28.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like, I do have happiness and stuff outside of comedy, but there's never that like it kind of just feels like you're being alive opposed to living. if that makes
Yes, I get
sense.
that. I totally
Right.
get that.
Up there, it's
And
like it's just different.
yeah, definitely. See, I get the stage thing, but I only have that happy feeling when it's going well.
Right.
When it's going horribly, I'm miserable.
That's
Like
it.
I'm at work. I feel like I'm at
Yeah.
work. I gotta entertain. I gotta get this group back. I gotta make these people laugh again. I've dug a hole. I gotta get out of it.
Hmm.
And so I'm not all I hear that a lot, like, oh, I'm happy on stage. I'm like, are you all the time? I mean, if I'm bombing, I want to kill myself.
Would you rather be bombing on stage and trying to dig out of that over, kind of living just a normal life, though?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, completely. I mean,
exactly.
that's a nightmare to me. I don't know how people do it. I think risk is scary, and anything unknown is scary. And it makes sense, and it's great for us because we get to be the guys who went for it and it worked out or
Hmm.
whatever. But yeah, I mean, first of all, are you talented? Secondly, are you willing to work super hard for it? Three, I mean, I gave up 10 years of my life to be even at this level of comedy.
Right.
So like, tell somebody that now, like, all right, you're 21. Will you just put your head down and bust your ass till you'll have some good times, don't get me wrong, but are you willing to do that till you're 31 just to be a comedian?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I heard Whitney Cummings say that if you want to be a comedian, it's not something you choose; it chooses you.
Yeah, that's a good line.
And I couldn't agree with that more because, like,
Yeah.
with all the hell gigs and the entire life and style of it, like, why would you do that ever? Unless if you need to or you're insane.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's like being gay. Why would you choose it?
Right.
It's a harder life. So, although now it might not be. I mean, glory holes are socially distant, but yeah, no, it's true. It's you got to do it, and I don't. I don't know. I don't know if I could redo it. I don't know if I could do it all over again, and I don't know if I could do it now. I feel bad for comics now. It seems like a nightmare. I'm so glad I feel like Indiana Jones where he like slid under the door and the door was
Yeah.
closing and he grabbed his hat. I just like, oh, I made it to the other side barely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still to the point where I have to put shit on YouTube and everything and all that, but like I'm grateful.
Yeah. And that's such a good point. It's the work, it's the time, effort, everything, and you just gotta do it and go through it.
Yeah,
And
that's it.
and
I
yeah, I didn't mean to come off wrong that like
No,
different.
no.
What I'm trying to say is I do enjoy life, but I feel like
Okay.
I'm
I was worried about
like
you there.
no, I really enjoy life. I think it's awesome, but I just feel more of like I'm actually doing what I'm supposed to on stage. I think that's a
Uh-huh.
better way to phrase it. Like,
Yeah. But that's good because I did this. This guy hit me up at a comedy club, and he goes, "We have a comedy class here. Will you talk to them and like answer questions, like a Q&A?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I went in, and it was like 40 kids, or not kids, but 40 people,
mhm,
and one guy's in a suit and tie, one lady is like a hipster weirdo, it was a whole mix of people, and they were like. And I would go, yeah, well, what you got, you in the tie? And he'd be like, okay, I work from 9 to 5. I have a dog. I got to go home and feed my dog. Then I got to cook dinner. When would I get the mic time in? And I said, you're already out. You're
yeah,
fucked.
yep,
Get out of here. Go. Don't even try it. Be a
exactly.
writer, submit a packet maybe, but you're already done. And then one lady was like, I got 2 kids and I can't figure out when I would have time to get up that much. What do you? And I was like, you're done too. And it was just like swatting flies, and they
Yeah,
hated me. But that's how it is.
yeah. That was probably the most honest advice they've gotten during it. You know?
Yeah, and I don't want to push anybody down and make what is it?
Hmm.
Dismay.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Um, yeah,
Dis.
like sway people away type of thing.
Yeah, dismay. I don't know. I don't want to dissuade anybody, but I mean, if you're already making conditions and weird little shortcuts with yourself, it's not good.
And I, to back you up, I don't think you would like sway anyone away from anything. You're super supportive. Like you don't have to be doing this with me at all. Like
Right.
at all, and you are. So I
Sure.
think you're a very supportive like person in comedy, and that's I think a lot of the younger guys look up to that. They see it. The
Oh,
people that are really doing it see that you're not too like cool or big or anything. If you see someone putting an effort, you're gonna put a hand out, and
yeah, definitely.
that's priceless, honestly.
Definitely. Well, also, I feel like less of a weirdo that you guys care so much because I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I when I was first met Seinfeld, he gave me his number. We're texting, and I was like, we're going back and forth about comedy and this and that, and he's a
Yeah.
fucking nut about comedy. And I had a picture on my wall of me and George Carlin. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I should send him that. Is that dorky? Am I a nerd? And I said, fuck it. And I sent it to him. And he goes, wow, you're a big of a geek as I am. And I was like,
Nice.
it paid off.
Yeah, you're following the gut.
Yeah.
And you realize in my opinion, the people that are like really just comics, that ego doesn't exist. They're in this thing together, and everyone is like, just it's kind of like a community. No one's too good. When you send that picture, he's excited too, even though he is Seinfeld. Like,
Right.
he has his people that he loves. Like, everyone is just loves this thing.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
good, the bad,
And the
everything.
Jewish.
Yeah.
Yes.
when we were talking about like the equation and stuff of comedy and saying words and people kind of freak out, it reminded me of a thing Burr said that I feel like we
Ooh,
could
hit
both
me,
relate
baby.
to. He's like, when you go to a comedy show and the guy's on stage for an hour and
Yeah.
everything is a joke, everyone's laughing,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah,
hear
yeah.
the one thing that you don't like, and then it becomes a fact.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I heard that changed my whole like entire outlook on everything.
Dude, he's got a couple where I'm like, oh, that's good. He's got so many of those. Like that thing he said about I say a joke and it gets cut with your childhood.
Oh,
He's like, so
yes.
now you think I meant it the way you were abused or whatever it is, but it's going through your brain and getting fucking like beep boop boop boop, and then comes out the other side. And that's not how I meant it, but just because your brain is weird, it's like if a kid bends over at a playground, I go, hey, there's a kid bending over a playground. But if a pedophile sees a kid, he's like, oh, this is a great moment, I guess. And it's the same thing with comedy. Like people just take it different ways. And when that kid bent over, he wasn't trying to turn on the pedo. And when I made the joke about, Asians, I wasn't trying to hurt Asians.
Right. Exactly. It's the equation. It's the
Yeah,
math of it.
it's the math.
Which is what we said. That's what this episode will be called, probably. It's the math.
Right. But you said Asians were smart. I'm like, well, that's a stereotype we all know. So I have to do things that we all know, or else you won't get the jokes. You
Right.
know, it's all very simple.
Exactly. When did you get interested in doing stand up? Is it something that you always wanted to do?
No, not at all. I mean, I
Wow.
just never even thought about it. I always liked it. I always watched it and enjoyed it, but I never really thought like, oh, that could be me.
Wow.
And I think it's the same with any kid. Like some kid watches the Rolling Stones, he's probably like, this band's awesome, but I don't think he was like, I'll be in that. I'll be
Right.
one of them. He just like, well, let me try to pick up a guitar one day because I enjoy this whole genre. And I think it was the same for me. Like I just liked comedy. You fuck with your friends. You make funny movies. I was in acting camp and all that shit. And eventually, I went to film school, and I hated it because it required so many factors. Like you got to get a grip, a gaffer, the lighting guy. You got to have a script. You got to have actors. Then you need a director. You need an assistant director. And I was like, this is so much work for something I'll never sell.
Right.
Or make. And so I just started doing open mics at night because it's just you.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, this is way more my speed.
Yeah. Isn't that a big appeal that it's just up to you, kind of?
Yeah.
You don't have to like wait. Like everything else, you gotta wait. Like if you're in a band, you gotta wait. You gotta agree with the drummer. You gotta agree with everybody, and you have this whole thing. Like I think that's what makes it so awesome, and so like why people are scared of it, because you're just what you're saying is what you feel, what you think is funny, and when people neglect that, you're just like, you can feel that.
Yeah,
Put on
you got to decide at one point, like, okay, this band obviously has some support. It's like a built-in support group. I have my friends here. I got somebody to lean on, but I got to run everything by them. We have to agree on everything. We might fight, blah, blah, blah. Or never fighting, never disagreeing, doing a full thing on your view, your point of view, but I got no support group. So you got to weigh that. And to me, the no support group it's a gimme. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck that. I'll deal with that later.
Exactly. Already dealing with enough. That actually reminds me, I think it was in your Comedy Central thing, special. You said that you live in a city, and you're like, did you ever leave your house without headphones?
Yes, yes, that was a big one.
Yes, and thoughts are not good. Yes, I think is what you said, right? And the whole time you thought you liked music, you just learned that you hate your brain. Is that right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, that bit I related to that a lot. Do you have a lot of like anxiety or OCD type of? What's your
for me, killer? It's just my brain is like more of a bully. So it's just mean thoughts, bad memories. Oh, I can't believe you said that, you idiot. I'm like, oh, a lot of in the shower, like, oh, why'd you say that, you fucking retard? A lot of that.
Right.
And I wish I could take that back or rewind the clock and, stop that text or whatever it was.
Exactly.
And so I have to listen. I even listen to podcasts when I go to bed. I put an earbud in and just and then I fall asleep. Because if I lay there with my head on my pillow, it's just, nightmare town.
Have you had that forever?
I guess I have, but I guess I learned to manage it because there was no headphone really. Like that wasn't even a thing people did in the 90s. No one went to bed really with an AirPod in. So I guess I dealt with it, which I should probably learn how to do again because now I've gotten so addicted to the podcast that I've got a crutch now, and I gotta kick it. It's a habit.
Right. And I'm right there with you. I've had anxiety and OCD my entire life. The OCD is the killer. It's not like clean hands or anything like that. It's just like you said, thoughts, and you gotta repeat things and whatever.
Right.
But I learned that you'll have it forever. It's like you said, just managing it.
Yes.
Just learning how to go through, and therapy and meditating have saved it for me.
Here. I'm with you there, Fatty. That's the key. And good for you for doing that shit and not – a lot of people just pop a pill and try to fix it that way, which, look, some people have to do that. I get it. Mm-hmm. But I think if you can avoid that, I think you're already a leg up because every problem has a root. And if you got to just get to the root of it, and if you take a pill, it just kind of puts a Band-Aid on it and you'll never fix it. And it's a short fix.
Right.
But it's not going to help you in the long term.
Yeah, I agree. And when you're on like stage, do you still get those thoughts ever? Or does it go away?
Oh, yeah. No, I get them. I mean, stage is less because you're so worried about your act and trying to I get it right before, I get it right after. But that's what I think that's part of why we like the stage is because it's kind of a mini drug.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I think that's why your Chappelles and your Dane Cooks and your Mencias, they'll spend like 3 hours on stage because they're like, look, they love me here. This is great, which I still think is weird and gross. But, I get it. I get why they do it.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's an insane high, kind of.
Yeah.
Like when it's going well and you're having the shows where you can't say anything wrong. Like,
right.
There's zero better than that. It's
nothing better when you're thinking of stuff off the top of your dome and just flying and floating. That's when you get the surfing analogy. You're like, whoa, I got it. I got him on the wave.
Exactly. It's just everything is right in those moments.
Yes.
Do you think like you said that you didn't always know you wanted to do comedy, but do you think everybody has a purpose? Like, do you think that is your purpose? That's why you are here?
I don't think everyone has a purpose. That's a little too convenient for me. Because then what are we saying about the garbage man? Was that his purpose? But I think everybody has a thing that their brain is perfectly calibrated to do, and they just got to find it. And not everybody finds it.
Okay. Yeah.
Also, I mean, what about you hear about Mozart or Beethoven? They're these savants on a piano. They can just sit down and play. I mean, what's his name? I think Beethoven was deaf, right?
Yeah.
So he's deaf, but he can play the fucking piano. So his brain just worked in that way. And what if the piano was never invented? So you got to figure there's a garbage man out there who might be great at the Skoozeldorf, but it's not even a thing yet.
Right.
So that's something to think about.
Right. But where I agree with that, and the the one thing that I think of often is there was something inside of you that said try comedy and do
True.
this, and you
True.
stuck to it constantly. You did a
Yes.
million shows, you wrote, you bombed, you did great, you met everyone. All of a sudden you're working with Seinfeld. Like,
Yeah.
I think that that thing in the head is the purpose. And I think not
Uh,
everyone listens to it because I think some people are afraid to work on the thing they're actually meant to do.
okay. Okay. I
Then,
mean, hey, I appreciate it, but I think it was just a good. I think okay, Floyd Mayweather is probably the best boxer of all time. Back to fighting, and yet, okay, so he's this tiny flyweight, muscular guy who's got good speed, good hands, good arm length. Plus, he was abused as a kid. So let's say he was never abused. He would probably just have a good fighting body, but might not have that extra oomph that he needed. So did he get beaten because he was meant to be a boxer? Or did it all just happen to add up? It's like the
right,
Beatles. Everybody talks about the Beatles are the best ever, whatever. But they were so poor that they had to play in Hamburg, Germany for 10-hour shifts.
yeah,
So they were decent musicians who had to play for 10 hours. So then they became the best. So I think they liked music. I like comedy. They played a million times. I did a million shows, and maybe that has more to do with it. I think the brain part going, oh, I like comedy. It's the same with a mathematician. A mathematician, he sees math and he goes, "There's something I like there. I feel like I could be good at that." You have to be drawn to it, and that's your
right.
subconscious probably saying your brain could figure this out, because I see math and I go, that's horrible. But my point is, I think it's a combination of things, and a lot of it is chance, I think.
No,
But hey,
I agree with that. And to go off of it, yes, the Beatles, they were poor. They had to play for 10 hours. But there
yeah,
was that thing inside of them saying, do this, don't just get a
sure.
normal job.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So
I
I, I
agree.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think that's a conversation that could literally go on forever.
Yeah, yeah, like
If you
Tiger
keep
Tiger
saying,
Woods. Tiger Woods is great, but he also had a crazy dad
yep,
who pushed him to play golf every day for 8 million years. And Michael Jackson, crazy dad. So I don't know. You watch any documentary on an amazing person. There's always some click, some
hmm
tragedy, some event that I think makes them great, or a serial killer. It goes either way.
it's true, and I think it is something though. It's more than a hobby because that's something you enjoy. Because didn't you like skateboard forever? Wasn't that your
Yes,
thing?
yes.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Very, very, a lot of parallels to comedy.
Yeah. Eh, I don't know much about. I always tried growing up. I was horrible. I started during the pandemic. I fell. I thought I broke my hip. I had this blue thing on the side of my
Oh,
leg
yeah. Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
And I don't think you should really start that at 28. But
No.
I get what you mean. That's one of those things, like we said, fighting at the beginning. To get good at skateboarding, like comedy, you just got to go out and do it. But I think
Yeah.
there is that thing going back to what we were just saying of there's a reason why skateboarding you said not anymore, and comedy is something
Yeah.
you never did that with.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting. But I think that's age too. Comedy's so great because you can do it till you go senile.
All right.
I mean, there's comics, George Carlin was up there in his early 70s, hunched over, going,
hmm
it's bad for you, or whatever it was. But yeah, I just got old and I started drinking a lot, and you can't really skate when you're hungover, and then when you're drinking, and blah blah blah. And it's a young man's game. Like you're 28, you busted a hip almost. So that was a big part. And I didn't see a big future with with skateboarding. Like I didn't see myself becoming pro. I was kind of a wuss. I was scared of handrails and all that stuff. And I broke a few ankles and broke my wrist and all that. So like I didn't see like this, even if I was a good boxer, there's even a ceiling for that because you're just getting pounded in the head over and over. And I don't
Right.
feel like that's great either. So comedy just felt good. Like, oh, this feels fun on stage. I'm getting better. That feels great. Maybe I could be on TV. Oh, I got a Conan. Okay. And you just have the goals are more attainable. I felt like for me.
Got it. And we'll wrap up in a second here.
Sure.
With everything that you've done, like you have, what is it, like 13 late nights or something? Is that correct?
I think it's
Or
12.
12?
Yeah, maybe. Hold on. Nine Conan,
Jesus.
3 Tonight Show, 1 Colbert, 1 Corden.
14?
Maybe it's 8 Conan. We'll go 13. Yeah, I think you had
Okay.
it.
You've pretty much done like everything there is in comedy. You've done all those late nights, specials, the arenas, theaters, clubs. Do you have a particular thing that you like enjoy the most, or kind of like, yeah, enjoy the most, basically?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's gonna sound weird, but nothing crazier, nothing feels better than a weird sold out show in a small room in the middle of nowhere that nobody knows about.
Yeah.
Like I've done shows in these weird towns in Montana or Oklahoma or Texas or whatever the fuck. And some kid will hit me up and he's like, I'll give you this much money. The town has nothing going on. If a comic comes in, everybody shows up from the whole. So it's like young, old, poor, rich. The whole town is there. And you're in the middle of nowhere. You have to take 2 flights, then a bus, then get picked up at the airport and driven 2 hours, all that shit. And then you get to this weird wooden cabin type room and there's weird stringy lights and you just bang it out and it's killing and they appreciate you and they get it and there's no political bullshit. Nobody's offended. Nobody's upset. And then after they shake your hand and you look around the room and there's like pictures of, all these old musicians who have been there and you're like, oh man, I'm one of those guys. And then you have a highball at the end of the bar at the end and then you take 17 flights home. But that, to me, that's pretty great when you're just killing in the middle of nowhere with strangers. And you just think about like all the parents that told you were an idiot and all the teachers that told you sucked and you'll never be anything. And you're just like, man, I just made these strangers laugh in the middle of fucking Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it worked out and I got a paycheck and now I'm going home. You feel like a paratrooper, like we need laughs here. And they drop you off in some fucking town. And boy, that's a good feeling.
Yeah, I love that's such a great answer. It's so true. Those I've never done an arena, I've never done a theater or anything. It's nice nice to know those random gigs when you drive in the woods in New Hampshire and there's just all those random people. You're like, this is incredible. That is that
is the best. There's nothing like, because you're like, oh, I'm actually a funny guy. I'm making these strangers laugh. It's not just like, okay, these guys came out to see me. They're laughing at me saying Holocaust jokes. Maybe that's for the wrong reason, or these guys aren't laughing, whatever it is. And look, I've had great moments in theaters and all that too. Don't get me wrong, but I was opening for people or whatever. It was a festival or something.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong. There's some amazing. One time I did The Beacon with Seinfeld and I ran off stage. I finished my set. I had a hot set, ran off and Jerry goes, man, that porn joke is so good. And they go, Jerry, sign. He runs out. And I was like, oh man, that was such a great feeling.
That's amazing. And I have 10,000 things I could talk to you about, but I'll stop there. That was a great answer.
Well, you want to do one more good one?
Yeah, sure. If you don't
pick the best one.
I don't know. I'm gonna. We talked a lot of the comedy and the math. I wanted to talk about that with you a lot because I feel like you're. Don't want to make you feel weird, but like the best joke writer.
No, I don't know about that. Have you seen Stephen Wright? Have you seen Hedberg, Dimitri Martin?
Right. It's all the same thing. It's that right to the point. I feel Sam Morril very similar.
Yes,
to like
another killer.
To what you're doing. But yeah, you got your. I'll just do a little light thing. The BMW, is that what you got? Was that kind of like was that just like a childhood dream type thing that you brought?
Yeah, total.
It's so
always
sick.
Loved that car. Thank you.
That looks. Do you just cruise? What do you?
I'm actually, I feel like I'm driving like like an antique heirloom. It's so scary because I don't want to wreck it. I don't have plates on it. It's not insured. So if I bump one guy or he bumps me, I'm fucked. And but it's just so fun and cute, and it smells like oil, and it's got the radio still works, and the windows are cranked, and it's so primitive. And I've never had a stick shift in my life. And I had a 71 Oldsmobile in high school, and I just like old cars because cars now are so what's the word? Where they're like
generic.
Well, yeah, generic, but they're like so regulated. You got to have the crumple zone. You got to have the airbag. You got to have the bumper this way and whatever. And like back then, cars were like, oh, let's make a cool thing. It was like a special piece of art almost. And I like that I own one because I feel like they're going electric and they're going to go away, these gas cars. So it's cool to have this piece of history.
Yeah. And do you feel like a connection with it because it was like designed and crafted? It's a stick shift.
Yes.
You got to twist the dial to get the radio. There's like an appreciation for what you're doing.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. And then you start thinking like, okay, this car is 50 years old. It's from 1973. It's crazy to think that like everybody did this. Yeah. Every little old lady was on the highway. Every high school guy was pulling this thing out and hot rodding it all over his suburban town or California, whatever it is. Like every college chick was got her school bag on the other seat and shotgun. It's so crazy to think that everybody was on the highway in one of these things. And now we're just so kid gloves with everything.
Yeah, everything's become automatic, and there's like history to that car because it was crafted, you got the connection. It's like when you have something like that, it's a respect and there's history to it. It's like if you're performing at the Cellar or the Comedy Store, when you get on that stage, you go, "There's this was crafted. There's history here.
You can feel it. You can feel the laughs in the wood and the old beer, and the wood is a little softer and darker. It's the same with the car. Yeah, you can feel that the what do you call it? The stick shift's got like some wear and tear on it, and I got a sexy new steering wheel on that thing, and the dashboard's like gone to shit from all the sun rays that have hit it. But man, it feels good getting behind that thing, and it just looks so damn cute.
Dude, that's awesome, and thank you for doing this again.
Oh, sure.
I appreciate it. You putting in the time, and heard you have another Rogan coming out.
Yeah. Wow, you're good. I think tomorrow. I hope he's really holding off on it. Maybe I said something horrible, and he's editing it right now. But yeah, it was a fun one, and
cool.
We got into it, and we had whiskey, and it was great. So I hope that comes out soon.
Oh,
that's
what about
awesome. Spotify? Do you have Spotify?
Yeah, I got Spotify.
All right. I feel like the numbers are gonna just plummet now.
Oh, I see. Well, I think is your podcast already available on Spotify?
I don't know. Mine's a YouTube and an iTunes and all the other ones. But I don't know about Spotify. I think they got to pick you.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know. I don't know anything.
Well, mine's on Spotify, and it's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not Joe Rogan. Like,
sure,
you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's what I was wondering. And
Spotify's amazing. Sorry, what?
Are you doing a podcast with Sam Morrill? Look like that.
Yeah,
is that a new thing or?
No, we've been doing them through the pandemic, and then a bunch of shit happened, and then now we're back, and we don't know how to put it on the internet. We only have it on YouTube for now. So, but people seem to be digging it, so we're gonna keep doing them.
Sweet. All right. Well, I won't take up any more time. I appreciate you doing this. It means a lot. And are you Mark Normand on everything?
At Mark Norman, Mark Norm on Twitter, marknormancomedy.com. Check out Tuesdays with Stories, and check out to Lunch on YouTube. Give it a like, a share, a comment, a queef.
Nice. And this is available everywhere you get your podcasts. And I'm Matt P. Brown on Instagram. Thank you guys for listening. Thanks again for doing this. And
no problem, Brownie. Thanks for having me. Take it easy.